I struggled with what to call this video because in it, I'm doing a little black dress tutorial but also testing out basic patterns that I made from existing clothes a few videos ago. This video will be linked at the top right corner of the screen and also in the description bar. So today I'm going to talk about how the patterns held up well, I think you can already see that, and also how I drafted my sleeves without a pattern, and also how I made the entire dress. So keep watching. This is my back bodice and back skirt linked together at the waist. I would transfer the patterns into plain paper, everything, darts and all. Next, I would move the skirt dart to match the bodice dart. I also dropped the neck by 1 centimeter. To make a penciled skirt, I measured about 2.5 centimeters from the side seam at the hem of the skirt, and then I blended it back to the hip. I cut up my back dress pattern and repeated the same steps with the front pattern so that they both look like this. I slashed the patterns at the waist. When I made these patterns, I actually added seam allowances to them, so I had that in mind through the making of this dress. If I was not going to have a seam at the waist, I would have overlapped the skirt and bodice patterns by 1 centimeter. I measured my neck, which was 10 inches diagonally. I drew a straight line and I cut it off. For my facings, I drafted curves halfway into the bodice patterns, making sure that the side seams of the facings were 5 inches each in length. So I cut out my fabric pieces and laid them all out like this, the front and the back as well as their facings. I put all of them together and I proceeded to stitch my darts. To make my slit, I slashed my front skirt open right at the midpoint of my left dart, measured 5 inches up. This is inclusive of 1.5 inches of hem allowance. And I stitched the two pieces together and I hand hemmed the slit. I stitched the bodices to the skirts, making sure that the darts aligned exactly. And then I put all of those pieces together, including a zipper, so that I had a dress that was looking like this. I stitched my facings together, shoulders and sides, and to the dress across the length of the combined neck. So this was how my facing looked. I had stitched it and pressed it. The stitch ran from the back all the way to the front and back to the back. I top stitched and or understitched the facing at the neck, making sure that the seam allowance was cut under my stitches. I folded the facing over the right side along with the understitching. I pinned it to the zipper and I ran my sewing machine over it. You should use a zipper sewing foot for this part if you have one. Apparently I forgot to do that. The goal is so that it looks something like this. Now for each sleeve, I folded 1 yard of organza fabric into 4 layers lengthwise. For my bottom tier, I measured 11.5 inches length and cut it out. For my middle tier, I reduced the folds to 2 to make it half the fullness of the bottom tier. I measured 10 inches and I cut it out. You should know that all the sleeve lengths I have mentioned already include seam allowances. I have the information at the top left corner of the screen. For my top tier, I measured 9 inches length. I drew a line 5.5 inches from the top. I measured the circumference of my dress armhole and I found it to be about 16 inches. Then I drew a sleeve cap that looks like this between the top of the sleeve and the 5.5 inch line. I checked to make sure that the length of this sleeve cap was equal to my armhole circumference, and also seam allowance, and also some ease in the cap. It was 10 inches,
making 20 inches in total, which meant that I had an extra 4 inches to both create fullness width and also to serve as seam allowance.
And my pieces looked like this. I created gathers in them and I stitched them together.
The top layer does not have any gathers. The second and the third layers only have gathers at the top of them. I proceeded to stitch the sides and also to finish the bottom by top stitching with a straight stitch. I had created some fullness in the sleeve cap. I proceeded to stitch it at this point to my dress.
I had hemmed the facing at the center front just to keep it in place. I would have preferred a hemming glue here actually. And now we look like this. As you can see, I had no trouble with the patterns. They held up nicely and they fit well too. There was too much side seam allowance though. I had to cut out more than 1 inch of fabric to reduce bulk. Otherwise, I love it.
In my next video, I'm going to test out the trouser pattern as well by making a jumpsuit. So make sure that you subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends. Also, let me know what videos you'd like to see from me on this channel. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.